There it is. I love my moments. And it's so crazy. Like, I've been doing this for the last 2 years and I still get like just like crazy flutters and just like forget stuff. And it's weird.
Yeah, I suppose everyone's different, isn't it? You get different dynamics with everyone.
And I do. And then the conversation that starts at the beginning, and it can. Like, I've had
never
Dr.
know where
Dennis
it goes.
Kimber on. You never know. And I'm like, I got so many nuggets with Dr. Dennis Kimber before the conversation even got started, and I was like, dude, we have got to hit record. Like, even if I don't introduce you, I have got to hit record. But Kylie,
I felt a bit intimidated after listening to Just. I was like, man, what am I doing on here? No. It's like, God, he's so, oh my God, it's inspiring, really inspiring.
He really is inspiring.
Next year. That's what I looked at. I was like, yeah, because I want to launch mine next month. So I was like, yes.
Speaking of which, Kylie Menz, welcome to the show. Thank you so very much for saying yes. Thank you.
My pleasure. Very excited to be here.
One of the things that I definitely want to ask just right off the bat, because, when you think about affiliate marketing and different funnels, because I hear you talk about that quite a bit, when you bring that up, I know the stigma that's behind it. I mean, hell, just salespeople in general, the average person cannot stand to be sold. So what do you believe sets you apart? What makes you different to be able to get out there and to get into the homes and mental states of your clients?
Yeah, I think the key thing is running a normal business. So there's a lot of, coaches online. I see people that talk about funnels and they've never been through the hard grit of building a business for starts. And I think building a kind of bricks and mortar type business gives you a different feel for obviously understanding clients, how they work, what they do, and why they do what they do. So I think for me, a lot of the psychology I put around funnels now comes from being obviously in that deep sort of trenches with people building a real business. And I would say not a real business online, because of course it is, but it's a different build to bricks and mortar. But I think also there's a lot of hype around it. And actually funnels is just jargon. It's simple. It's just straight jargon. It's been around. Sales funnels in general have been around forever. They're just a different process. For me, it's just about the customer journey. It's how do they get to know you? How do they get to work with you? So I've always seen it like that. For me, the difference with the internet is just speeds up the process. It's just a tool.
So what do you do? Do you just jump in and, I don't want to say attack their business, but do you just jump
Sometimes.
in? I'm joking. But did you just jump in and just give them strategies on how to improve their business? Because I know one of your mottos is improving your income. You can improve your impact. Yeah. And so how do you, did you just jump in to say, hey, this is what's wrong and this is what needs to be fixed?
Kind of. Most people come to me kind of when they either are they're struggling with something. So they're either struggling to get enough clients, so they're not growing, or they're at the stage where they're growing and they know they want to scale, but they just don't know how. So generally it's because they don't have any idea around, the possibilities of what they can do in business. I think I got the nickname Cashflow Queen, and I got that because I love spotting opportunities. Like I can sort of look at someone and go, wow, you're missing, income here, and you could potentially grow another income stream this way. So that's kind of how I got started, was just kind of spotting opportunities and seeing that, I always felt like for myself personally, and this is quite funny given I've run a really successful sales office for 11 years and I built a really good career, but I always felt like a bit of a jack of all trades.
Okay.
Kind of a master at none. So I didn't feel like when I left work, it was funny because I was trying to build my business and I didn't feel like I had a skill set to sell, which was really random. And I didn't want to teach sales. So I've been in sales for a long time. I ran a real estate in London, which is really highly competitive, highly successful what I'd done. And then I got into recruitment and I was very good at what I did, but I didn't feel at the time I had a specific skill set to sell, which is really random. So I always felt like I knew a bit about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And people used to ask me random questions and I'd always have an answer. As I always say, I've always got an opinion on something. But of course, by doing that, it's like, well, how can I help others? So what I realized was what I was really good at was spotting where someone had a really unique skill set or a gift, and show them how to actually grow it and scale it. And that's how I got doing what I do now, is like, taking an expert and showing them how to grow to make a bigger impact. Yeah.
I will say that is that's definitely a different aspect of, I would say, I don't want to say sales, but a salesperson, because it's typically
sales, tacky. Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I hate sales. I absolutely hate it. I used to work for ADT, and we used to go out door to door.
Oh,
and so
that's the hardest type of sales too.
Oh my gosh. But
door knocking,
it was like so silly because I hated it. But what ended up happening was, and they didn't create a position for me. It already existed. It's just that I was damn good at it. Yeah. Because the salespeople would come out, they would mess up contracts. And if your contract is messed up, I mean, that could ruin the entire deal. Yeah. And so I was the cleanup person. And so imagine someone coming into your home, putting a hole in your wall. Salesperson never told you that. You've gotten this system and all of this fine print shows up, but you messed up the contract of where they signed. And so now a cleanup person has to go in behind you to kind of do damage control.
Yeah.
And so,
because it breaks trust as well. It's like,
it
does.
That. It really, really does. But what I found out is that I was really good at rebuilding that trust and that communication and putting it back out there to eventually get the contract signed. And so it's funny that you went a different way.
Yeah.
You went a completely different way when it comes to sales and wanting to actually help other people.
That's it. Yeah. And I always saw it. It's funny because obviously building the estate agency, real estate in London is very, very similar. Like, it's highly competitive. It's so driven. It's so focused. And at the time, it was very male dominated as well. So of course I was the only female manager in the whole area in sales. There was a couple of lettings managers, but none in sales. But what I soon realized was, obviously, no disrespect, but a lot of the women made the decisions on who they were selling through, because it was a very family orientated area. So it was quite the wife that drove a lot of it. But also I just got used to listening. Like, I never ever went out and did pitches. I never went out and sold the company. I always just listened to what their problems were and how I could solve them. So I've always been a problem solver from sales point of view, and that's what you've got to do to sell, especially like a high ticket online. It's always about problem solving. And I carried the same thing through to in recruitment. And I remember one of the recruitment companies telling me that, one of the things I did, I worked in construction, but I worked in sales. So I'd go around to all the new home sites, when they have all the new home display sites.
Yeah, like model homes.
I would go and visit the sales staff, and they're like, "You're the only recruitment person in years that we've ever had out on site. No one ever went to visit their sites." And I said, "Well, how do they know what your culture's like? How do they know what type of people you need? Like, they don't understand your business." And that's how I won business, was because I actually took the time to care about the companies I was working with. Yeah.
It's really,
for me, I couldn't recruit otherwise. I was like, well, how, everyone's different. Like, every company's different. Every culture's different. Yeah.
Have you learned in your experience, and this is totally off topic, but have you learned in your experience using that same philosophy of going in to just care? Have you learned that it's difficult for some other people versus you?
Yeah. And that's the thing. And I think for a long time, I kind of didn't realize how easy I did it. Like, and it's little things as well. Like, I'm Australian, I travel loads. I'm used to walking up, talking to strangers. And, some people, the fear factor of just talking to someone different is really interesting. So
it's serious. Anxiety will kick in like crazy.
Yeah, I met a guy the other day. He just said, I couldn't have walked into this room like a month ago. And this was just at a networking event. And I was like, wow, like, to have that fear of just the simplest thing I just do without even thinking about it is, So I get sales, and sales has always had a bad rap as well. Like, there's no, there's the sleazy tactics, and there's the, oh, look at my glossy car, it's like,
or the conversation is almost always about them. Yes. Like, it is never, ever about what I truthfully want to buy. It's about what you want to sell me. Yeah. And that turns people off really quickly. And I don't think most salesmen, I don't think they get that.
No,
I really don't.
And it's changing. It's one of the biggest changes I've seen online really over the last 2 years as well. It is changing.
It is.
You know, the sales tactics that worked 2 years ago don't. People want real. They like. You know, I loved your thing about freedom of being authentic, and that online is coming much more. Like you have to be authentic. You have to be real.
Yes.
And you know, even like I said, I was listening to Justin's show before, wasn't I? About, you know, they need a face. You need to step out from behind your business because people actually want to see real people. And, you know, if you're not doing that, you know, Richard Branson's a classic example. That's why he's been so successful. Because he's always been out there as a person as well as his business. So, so sales for me is changing for the better because you can't hide behind these tactics and stuff anymore. It's not about that. It's about authenticity and being real. Yeah.
So you brought up once before about freedom, and I know you speak about it yourself quite often about freedom and the freedom to choose. Yes. Now, from my perspective, it seems so obvious, but I really want to know what drove you to that idea. Because a lot of times we chase money, and not necessarily chasing freedom or the freedom of choice. So what is driving you to consistently chase that? Or even if you've succeeded with that, what has been the focus behind that?
Yeah, I think everyone starts chasing money. I think you wouldn't be in business if you didn't, because normally you're trying to get away from something. Whether that's your horrible corporate job or you know, whatever. So normally you're trying to get out of something. So obviously most people start with chasing money, but actually when the crunch comes, you know, the reason people become entrepreneurs, the reason people start their own business is most of the time is they want freedom of choice in some way, shape or form. So for me, it was, you know, I had some, you know, some big turning points in my life where, you know, things didn't go according to plan. You know, No, I didn't turn out the typical little housewife I was expected to be, and you know, the 3 kids hanging off me and stuff like that. And so life took different circumstances for me around, you know, a big loss in my life when I was younger and stuff. So I always had a bit of a philosophy of life is short, make the most of it. And that's what started my journey of traveling. So my biggest passion is travel. I've traveled to about 45 different places now. I can go and spend a month or so, immerse myself. I love travel, and I've quite often traveled alone. So I like the experience of meeting new people and getting into cultures and just seeing where I end up and what happens. So for me, freedom was a big thing, but of course, having to do that, you've got to fund it. So, you know, having a passion for travel, somehow you're going to fund it. So of course, then I got into the corporate work and working hard, and the turning point for me was in recruitment. I was looking at my boss one day, and he'd come in bragging about getting his travel card on the tube because he was at retirement age. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't want to be you in 10 years time, you know, and I just didn't. I was just like, there's got to be something bigger out there for me. So that started really kind of my entrepreneurial journey of like wanting to do something different. But what I saw was obviously so many people creating just jobs for themselves, you know, following their passions, but not really getting the freedom that they set out for. So, and for me, when I got online, I was like, wow, this gives you more freedom. It gives you reach. It gives you growth that no other capability has ever been able to provide us with. You know, how many businesses nowadays would have loved the internet 20 years ago, 30, you know, it's like crazy what you can do now for reach and things like that. And that's kind of how I got, I want to create more freedom rather than just about working and income. It's about then having the choice to do the things you love, whatever that is. You know, for me, it's one of my travels. It's travel, obviously. I get indulged. But, you know, some people want to spend more time with family. Like, you know, what is it that drives you? But having that choice, you know, I thank God every day I get up and I can do what I choose. Like, I don't have to answer to anyone. You know,
that is freaking amazing. I will say that. Now, speaking of your hardship, I know I think I heard you or I read something about you were initially doing Forex. Is that Forex. what is it Forex?
I learned to Forex trade. Yeah. So
Forex trade.
That was my first encounter out into the entrepreneurial world. And actually I got quite good at it, to be fair. I did actually get quite good at Forex. But my broker went into receivership overnight. And so what is receivership? So basically, all the accounts got blocked. The accountants come in, they took over the company, and it took us nearly 8 months to get any of our funding back. So basically, overnight, I'd lost all my account. So I lost my income and I lost all my savings. I did get it back, some of it eventually. I didn't lose very much in the end, but it just took months. So of course, I had no choice but go back to work, and that's what I did. And hated every minute of it.
So, because see, that's actually part of my question, and really where I was going with it, because you've reached this level of success kind of on your own as I think we call it over here 1099 or something, where you're kind of like an independent contractor or entrepreneur, you know. And so you're on your own, you're making money, you're being successful. Obviously, something happens, you get derailed, you have to start over.
You do.
That's not easy for the average person. I can imagine it to be embarrassing. I can imagine it to be, a feeling of some sad way of being depressed or something. Yeah. So I really want to know, like, what in the hell? What kept you going? Like, I mean, people would, you know what I mean? Like, I would probably go insane for a little while before being able to kind of get my footing. So what kept you going on that?
Yeah, well, I think, like you said, I think that most entrepreneurs would say this probably about themselves now, is what happens. The problem is you become unemployable. So, of course, I got back into a really good job. It was easy for me to get a job. You know, I had a good career. I knew what I could do quite quickly. And that was when I got into recruitment at the time. I thought, well, I don't want to work weekends anymore. I just want to get into something I can at least sort of grow. But of course, I've lost my passion for it. And as soon as you lose your passion for sales, like it's hardcore. Then it's like it's a droll process. So I got back into it, and of course, then I tried to what I call wind down. And again, anyone that's had a sales job knows that trying to get another job at something that's basic and simple, they just don't let you. All the recruitment companies wouldn't put me forward for things. I was being told you're overqualified, and all I wanted was a crummy, 8 to 4, 9 to 5 job. I could come in, not think about anything, not do any hardcore sales, and just build my business on the side. That's what I really wanted. But of course, I couldn't get a role. There was just no chance. So I tried. This is when I switched into doing new home sales, because I thought, it's a bit quieter, it'd be a bit slower pace. I just outsold everyone and annoyed them all. So, of course, all they did was complain to my bosses. So I did, and I was driven. It was hilarious. And they just complained constantly to the bosses that she was like, she's doing stuff, she's learning. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the new industry. I wanted to learn stuff. Obviously, I'd come from an estate agent, which was really competitive, into new home sales, which apparently they can sit on sites for 2 years. And I'm like, no, I want to sell. Like, I want to get these sold. Yes. So, of course, that didn't work. So, basically, I got sacked twice in 2 months, like, of roles. One, I got told I wasn't posh enough, which was quite funny. Did you know wealthy people don't talk? Like, no, hello, I've been around wealthy people for a long time.
Was that their teaching?
Yeah, that was their teaching. I wasn't allowed to talk to wealthy people. They don't want to have a conversation with you.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, it was so funny. And, basically just got told I wasn't posh enough for them. So literally in 2 months I got sacked. So then I had no choice. So there was my plan B. I had no choice then. I had to make something work. So, which was great, because now I've been off work now for, 4 years, I think now I've been off work. So it's been lovely.
It worked out for the best.
Yeah, I laugh at them now. I'm like, oh, you're still going on the tube. You're still working 60-hour weeks. It's like, so I don't have any of that anymore.
And did you have your kids and a family at that time?
No, I don't. See, that was one of my turning points. I don't have kids, unfortunately. I always wanted to be a young mum, and it didn't work. Hasn't worked.
Wow. Oh my.
But I'm not meant to have. I'm not meant to have children. I found out from someone that did past life regression.
Oh.
She did my past life regression, and she said, no, I've had 2 massive families over the last 2 generations. And so apparently my soul this time decided I was meant to make an impact. Interesting that she told me that about a year ago. And now everything to do with my business is talking about creating an impact. It's really, really random how it's come about.
Oh, wow.
But so I was told to let go of it. That was not what my soul was
here idea.
For. It was really interesting. Yeah. So I'm like, and she said she didn't know me at all, and she knew. She said, I bet you've had big turning points in your life when you thought you were going to have kids and didn't. And I'd had two major events where I thought I was pregnant, wasn't. Mm-hmm. One obviously was when I was married, one when wasn't, and it just didn't happen. So it's like really interesting. And she said, oh yeah, I could have told you that years ago. You know, it was really, it was right for her. It was really blasé, but I was like, but all I wanted was kids, you know, I wanted to be a young mum. And it's funny, like the event I'm speaking at on the weekend is all about her story, and it's all about sharing your story. And one of that is that sometimes you've got to take the road less travelled, because that's what you're given. It's like they say, you know, make lemonade from lemons. So of course mine is now about helping others and travelling and creating a different life.
So to have that level of mindset, I mean, that takes some doing, some practice, because I know it doesn't come overnight.
No.
So what do you do to kind of keep you stable on that? Because that's a for me, I know that would be a hard blow. You know, at least temporarily.
Yeah. And it's funny, it didn't really come about till I started my business. So they always say, don't they, starting your own business is not a business journey, it's a personal development journey. And I 100% agree with that. It never affected me working in corporate for years. I was always driven, I was highly successful. Yeah. And it's really only in the last couple of years since I got into the entrepreneurial journey that this stuff has come up about. And I'm like, wow. So two things, I think. One, don't be scared of therapy. Therapy is amazing.
Amazing!
You know, I have no stigma about going to see different therapy. Yeah. Like, I've tried some amazing stuff over the last few years, and I'm really open to things like that. Like in Bali was incredible. If anyone's ever been to Bali, Bali has some of the most amazing, like, soul-searching kind of deep energy movement, loads of energy movement in Bali. And I did a kinesiology, so this was an interesting one. I did they do something like a kinesiology type of thing, and it was in one of these energy movements. And I don't know, have you ever heard of kinesiology?
I've not, but I'm familiar with the energy, quote unquote.
Yeah, so the kinesiology works on your muscle testing. So if you've got a subconscious truth, you can't fight against it. If you don't believe it's true, you just give in and it's fine. It's like, you can't lie to yourself, if you know what I mean. And one of the questions come up, and I'd been divorced then by 15 years, 16 years. Mm-hmm. So as far as I was concerned, the best thing ever, because I went traveling. I would never have done the stuff I've done in my life without it. But she said, she asked me the question and I couldn't let go. And she said, so subconsciously, I totally 100% believed I was still married. And that come up in this kinesiology session. So thank God she did whatever she did and shifted it and moved it, and then it was gone. But that's the sort of subconscious truths we hold that we don't even know we hold. So since then, I've got more and more into doing therapy. I've got around a group of rapid transformational therapists who are just incredible. They joke with me because I like to call them hypnotherapy on speed. But it is because it goes faster than hypnotherapy, but they also solve the outcome. So I heard Justin talking about giving up drinking. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like you were interviewing about giving up drinking. And one of my goals this year is total health. It's all about my fitness and me. And I did a therapy session just before Christmas. And I wanted to get off drinking Coke. Like, I have to say drinking because I said Coke last time, and they're like, "Oh yeah, gotta have it." So drinking.
Oh
Coke.
my god! Oh my
drinking Coke.
I didn't even put the two and two together, but I
did it. So I said it to someone the other day, and they're like, "You had a Coke habit," and I was like, "Yeah, drinking Coke." So I'm very cautious of that now. Yeah. But yeah, so literally within a week, I'd given up drinking Coke, I've given up virtually all alcohol, I've got off sugar, crazy, in like literally a week. And so for me, any sort of therapy for me, I just think we all have blocks, we all have limiting beliefs, our lives, our cultures, everything that's put onto us over the years affects where we go. And I think the stigma is slowly wearing off that it's okay. You look at, who's the big boxer, Conor McGregor? Is it Conor McGregor? Conor? He is the one that's just been with Tony Robbins, but he's just changed his whole thinking.
Oh, yeah. Which is so sad because he makes
isn't it?
It is McGregor. He has Proper 12 whiskey, which I love.
See, I've been a whiskey drinker all my life, so don't go there.
Oh my god! I did a review.
I gave it up with the Coke. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh! It is so good.
I haven't touched one since. It's like I've been like an alcohol. I can sit it there and I can't drink it. It's weird. Since I've had my RTT session. Yeah, it's very powerful for addictions and changes and really good stuff.
Agreed.
But yeah, but he, like, even he, and I was like, so cool in the boxing world and that arena, that he took on Tony Robbins to actually solve his problem around his fights. And that for me is that's just all about helping people to realize that, especially men, because men need it more than actually women do, funnily enough. You know, that's why the suicide rates are high and men see failure, because they won't go and get help. So for me, watching him with Tony Robbins was just incredible, because I was just like, more and more people need to be open and honest. That stuff like that's okay, because it doesn't mean you're broken. It just means that, you know, we all have these limitations. We all have these blocks, you know, and I think whatever level you're at, you come up against, like, every time I raise my level in my business, I hit different things, because different things come up.
Agreed. Of course.
Yeah, but whereas people always sort of see it, I think, before as broken, and it's not about being that. It's about just being better as a person of who you are and developing yourself as a person.
Speaking of leveling up, so this event that is coming up. So what I did not know about it, by the way. I was totally not prepared.
You would love her. She should be someone you should definitely interview.
What is this event about, and what will you be doing?
Yeah, so I got asked to speak at this event. They basically put out, what it is there's a lady called Gertrude, and I'm going to I should know how to pronounce her last name, but she's absolutely incredible. She's an African lady who's just built multiple businesses. She gives back to the community. She has an incredible story, an incredible journey. And she started this event called Her Story Circle. And basically what she's looking at doing is running 100 events around the globe with 100 different women speaking at each event, sharing their story. And I'm very privileged to be a part of it here in London. They're having one in Hertfordshire next weekend. So I get to share my story. I get to run a workshop, and I just get to interact with really cool women. That's for me what it's about. It's a big women's movement around us all raising each other up. And I think that now, especially nowadays, with the amount of women becoming entrepreneurs, you know, the change in society, how things are going, like, we as women really have to step up, because you know, the impact, this is why I always say, but I always say from a financial point of view, because I get so frustrated with women, because we never charge what we're worth, we never earn what we should earn, and we're always got a fear around earning more. And for me, it's the other way around. It's like I always say, when good women create good income, they create a good impact. So it's like the more you earn, the more you earn, the more of a difference you can make. And we don't often put our own oxygen masks on first. So for me, it's always about how can we raise your income levels? You know, watching a client the other week go from, you know, just charging 100 to charging nearly 1,000, you know, and I know the impact she's going to have on that person, but more importantly, the impact she's going to have in her life, because she's she's sort of comfortable and happy. Yeah. And that for me is what it's all about. So that's what I'll be sharing at that event. But it's the movement she's creating. Like, you should definitely have her on your show. She's incredible. And I'm sure she's probably got a event coming your way. Like, she's around 100 different places around the globe.
Are you excited about this event? Like, are you excited to speak?
I'm nervous. I'm really nervous. Because
I was trying not to say that, because certain people believe really nervous and excitement is the same energy.
They do,
and so, you know, there's the same feeling. And so depending upon how you grasp it.
I think because like I said before, I'm not naturally vulnerable. Like, you know, like I said earlier, I can talk about business for hours, put me in my comfort zone, and I can talk about it for hours. But suddenly talking about my story, my journey, and it's really funny, because originally it's funny, I think, because I never felt like my story was enough. And the thing about this event is it's made me realize, I know, but you know, you see so many amazing stories where people have come from real hardship and through real things. And I was like, I had a loss and it transformed my life and things have gone different ways, but I never felt like it was big enough. You know what I mean? Never big enough.
I know what you,
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
But actually what I realized by being part of this event was actually every story is really important. Every story is really powerful, because, you know, someone needs to hear that story.
Agreed.
And that's where, like, I was listening to your show earlier, and you're all about, like, someone needs to hear your message delivered from you. And that for me is really, really powerful.
You know where I learned that from, and you would never even imagine, but my dentist I love my
How
dentist.
do you talk when you talk to a dentist? I never get that one.
he tells a lot of stories. But then first off, his name is Dr. Hennessy.
Oh,
So,
does he drink whiskey then?
yes, no.
No.
But he gave me this sticky note,
Yes.
and it stated, "You are God's expression of what it means to be Jimmy Warmize on this earth at this time." And so, and I'm like, and that's no different than you. Like, you're literally God's expression of what it means to be Kylie Menz at this time on earth. And so, what that means is your journey, your story is very unique to you. And so it has to be told. It has never been told before. And so it must be told. So I love, speaking of your story, now I know I'm going to get this wrong. So I'm going to have to read this. Where is it?
And you hear this, don't you? That I'm losing my voice. And I reckon it's because for next weekend. It's really funny. It's like because they say because you're getting your message out there. Suddenly I'm like having to speak. I'm having to share my story more. Very interesting.
You have to take care of your voice.
Yeah, but they say it's an energy thing, don't they? They always say that a lot of authors lose their voice before they release their books.
Really?
Because they're telling their story for the first time. Yeah, it's very common. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But I'm kind of glad if I lose it in the next couple of days, it's good. It'll be ready for next weekend.
Be ready for the week.
I want it to go today, yeah.
Speaking of being awkward, because I had to write this down. I didn't want to get it wrong.
That's
but
right,
you being the author of the book, is it Six Figure Laptop Lifestyle?
No, that's not me. No, I haven't put a book out yet.
I swear there's someone named Kylie Menz that is literally on Amazon and literally.
Oh, I've put out some interview. I suppose some smaller books I did originally around when I very first got. Wow, I've forgotten they were even there. How cool is that? You really dug deep, haven't you? I forgot about that.
Really,
no, because when I very first started, and it's funny, like talking about that because I'm about to relaunch and do a new podcast show and everything next month. But when I very first started online, wow, I'd forgotten they were even there. I started an interview show called My Lifestyle Show.
Oh,
and it was about interviewing women around the globe who had created successful lifestyle businesses at the time. Mm-hmm. And I've done a few collations of those interviews into that. I've forgotten they were even on Amazon. That's really cool you found them though. I'm like really proud of that. But no, so my book, hopefully, I'm looking at getting to the editors next month. But I'm not going through a big publisher. I'm just self-publishing because for me, this is just about getting content out there and me visible really. But it's about creating. So what I'm doing is it's all the same flow. So it's about expert to impact. It's about creating expertise and creating a bigger impact with it. So my book will go through some of the journeys and share some of the case studies I've already done where I'm impacting. So like one of my favorite clients, I love her to death, was one of my property clients. And, you know, the incredible shift she's making with people now. But not only for herself, like she created over 6-figure income last year from the work I did with her. But it's the ripple effect. Like I always say, it's not about that. It's the ripple effect. And she's already got people now creating more freedom in their lives and financial freedom. And so I'm going to be sharing some of those stories in it. But that's more of I was saying this morning, that's more about a business book. But it's going to be part of my podcast show as well. So my podcast show is going to be Expert to Impact. And that's where I want to interview people that have already taken their expertise and created a bigger impact, whether it's in society, whether it's in people's lives, whatever it is. And then my real story is not going to come out for another year or so. So I think for me, it's like I've got all the grounding and all the foundation and it's formulating. But I think there's still one bit missing and I'm not sure what that is yet. So, and I think that's about my own personal impact in relation to, I want to do something over the next year around, so I've got 2 avenues. One is around loneliness. One of my biggest fears is loneliness because I don't have kids. I obviously lost my brother very young and I only have my mum and dad left in my immediate family. So one of my biggest fears was around being lonely in old age. Like, what am I going to do? I won't have family around me. So for me, connecting people, there's some project and I don't know what it's going to look like yet.
Connecting other people or you connecting with people?
I'm not sure. The universe will bring it, I reckon. That's the thing. So all I've said at the moment is I'm open for something. But for me, it's got to be something around that angle of we're creating a lonelier society. There's no 2 ways about it. I love technology and what it can do, but technology is creating barriers. I think people have forgotten just how to be present and have conversations. So there's something around that. And also I'm a bit of a weirdo because I love being in old pubs chatting with the oldies. My friends always laugh at me, but I'm like, I had the best conversation with someone today, and I'll go up and talk to random people like that. But I always find I have the most interesting conversations because the oldies just don't get spoken to enough. You know, they've always got incredible stories to share, incredible journeys. And for me, it's bridging that with the younger generation somehow. It's like, how can we bridge that more? And there's some really exciting like property projects I've seen where people are co-housing with the younger generation, with the older generation and things like that. So there'll be definitely something around that over the next year or so.
Next year. Well, I mean, I know we're going to wrap up here pretty quickly.
Yeah, we've been going. Yeah. Very excited. This was so easy. I thought it was going to be really hard. It's lovely. You're wonderful. Lovely. You're wonderful host.
I love to see people that are living their truth. And it's so freaking amazing and it's inspiring. And you just, like you said, with the ripples, you have no idea what ripples that can come from that. Yeah. And so I'd love to be able to pull that out in people. I'd love to be able to just have a simple conversation and touch all of the bases. So speaking of that and building gaps in community and conversation, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so best thing is my website's under my name, which is kyliemenz.com. I'm obviously everywhere on social media because I live on it every day. Mainly having really great LinkedIn conversations at the moment, which is really random. So you'll find me just under Kylie under Menz. Yeah, I've been really upping my. I've been told I've been really visible lately, so something's working. But that's my whole word this year is visibility. So it's getting out there because one of my friends said to me, "You're a hidden secret." So you need to get out there. And so that's my whole goal this year is visibility. So you'll be seeing more of me. Look out.
Okay. I will be linking up with you. I will be like, I'm okay. I'm
very excited. Yeah,
like no different, Justin. Like I really like to see the journey. And so
and that's the thing. I feel like I'm so at that turning point at the moment to really big stuff in the next year or two. Yeah, I'm really excited.
I do have one final question. I know you're big with women, specifically entrepreneurs, and wanting to encourage and inspire them. What have you seen as a commonality in regards to a blockage that you're seeing with women specifically to be able to unlock their door to move forward?
I think understanding their own value. I think that was a big thing for me as well. And I'm really only just starting to release some of this as well myself. But I think one of the things I see all the time is we undercharge for our gifts. Like I work with men and women, and like I said, at the moment I'm working with one property guy and an outperformance coach, which is fascinating to work with. But the men are just there's just no hesitation. You know, it's a 10 grand program, it's $5 grand for this, 10 grand for that. And I'm just like, women would have been, I need a few more case studies. I need to give it away for free first. I need to, make sure it's, and it really makes me sad because it's just, we've got so many gifts that we need to share, and I guess I've got quite humble working with some of these therapists and watching them grow because they're getting something out of it as well. It's incredible to watch. But I think, definitely the undercharging bit is knowing that your value and realizing value, not from an hourly. So like stop trading your time for money, like totally stop trading your time for money. It's about the value you bring and the transformation you can provide for someone. And if you focus on that transformation, then that's what you're there for. Yeah.
That is a damn good tweet and a damn good place to end. Stop trading your time for money. Stop it. You are worth so much more.
Yeah,
you're worth so much more. I love that. Kylie, thank you so much for being on the show. I definitely appreciate you.
I've loved it. Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness. Where's the thingy? Kylie, I think this is your fault. Can I blame you?
Top left somewhere, isn't it normally middle at the top?
Yeah, but I didn't want to.